solve a social problem. As we all know, entrepreneurs are problem solvers, but specifically, a social entrepreneur seeks to solve a social problem that they find in their or society. So the organization that they end up opening or starting out seeks to solve that problem that maybe talks to their background or talks to what they battle with, or what they basically want to see their community maybe changing in that effect. So that is what a social entrepreneur is. Their focus is not necessarily to gain profit like a typical commercial entrepreneur. The impact is basically what drives them.
I love that impact is what drives a social entrepreneur. Now, why did you get into this space, Siphelele? Can you maybe take us a little bit back in your involvement, and what drove you to really ensure that you are making the impact that you're making now in the space of developing social entrepreneurs?
I guess it's from my background. Both
Mm,
my parents are coming from rural communities,
mm,
deep rural KZN. So I also have seen social ills from those communities, and also having grown up in a township as well, I've seen a lot of struggles that we had, because
mm,
I'll include myself, that we had. In fact, I used to say,
mm,
if you make it coming out of a township, you need to consider yourself lucky, because there are so many exposures, negative exposures, that is, that end up making many people not succeed. I'm
mm.
sure you will agree that many of us that are coming from township have got
It's a
cases that,
lot.
or example of people that they can see who were smarter than us, but they
Mm,
didn't really get the opportunity to maybe even grow their
mm,
education and end up not any career, and not end up working where they would have if maybe they had those opportunities. So
mm,
for me, that is what talks to me in my interest in the social development space.
I love that. I love that a lot. It's ensuring that, people get an opportunity and a space for them to also reach their full potential as well. Now,
Mhm.
Siphelele, looking at, of course, the work that you do, what I really want to know is what are some of the fundamentals that social entrepreneurs should keep in mind? If someone maybe is sitting at home right now and thinking, hey, maybe I'm a social entrepreneur. Am I? Am I not? What are some of those fundamentals that one needs to have as a social entrepreneur?
I think what we have seen with my experience dealing with social entrepreneurs, as I've mentioned earlier, that most of them out these organizations with the impact that they're trying to make, and the help that they want to give to other, whether it's youth, whether it's children, because many of them set up places like ECD centers. So whatever problem they are trying to address, their focus is mostly on the problem that they are trying to address. But what we've seen is that we need to have them operating or thinking like commercial entrepreneurs, because the organization that they are running also need to maintain costs,
Yeah.
also still need to be sustainable. We have heard in the news, I'm sure it's all over the news, that the aid that is normally given to non-profit organizations, which are mostly social enterprises, is not as forthcoming as what used to be. So basically, what we have learned is that social enterprises need to think how they can be sustainable. They are operating to generate revenues themselves so that they can be sustainable and end up making a wider impact that they are trying to make, or make sure that they are running in a much more cost-effective way, the same way a commercial enterprise would run, but that one may be seeking to generate maximum profits. But social entrepreneurs basically need to also think that entrepreneurially to or creatively as to how can they make sure that they are sustainable for the future, so that the impact that they are trying to make can continue and maybe even go wider than their immediate communities, if that's how they started.
I like that. Now, looking at some of the challenges that maybe social entrepreneurs face, what would you say are those challenges and how can a social entrepreneur mitigate those, and then find themselves pivoting?
Mm. The first one is normally fundraising, which ends up contributing to them having resources to run the organization successfully and sustainably. And there is a premise in the market that NGOs, more specifically or nonprofits, don't necessarily need the skills that commercial enterprises need. And that's basically not the case because any organization that needs to operate successfully needs the skill. So whether you are running a nonprofit, the skill that is required needs to be paid for. And the people that are working there, as much as they may have that social will, but they still need to be paid so that the social entrepreneurship industry can grow and basically make a wider impact. So I think the challenges that they are facing is basically retaining their staff and resources and raising more. And I think another one is also funders mostly wanting to prescribe to them what impact they need to make. I think they need to have a better leverage in terms of what they want to achieve. Because as they start out wanting to solve a specific problem.
Yeah.
So if funders are now prescribing to them to say, with our CSI budget, for example, this is the ring fence funds that you need to utilize our money on, which now ends up forcing this social enterprise to pivot to something that they were not maybe set out to do or that wasn't in their vision. So I think those are the challenges that are facing social enterprises, in my view.
I love that. Now you spoke about the challenges of the budget, and I'd really like to then get on the back of that in terms of what is the importance of being agile as a social entrepreneur, because we live in a world that is constantly changing. The economics of this world are constantly changing. So agility, the importance of that.
Hmm. Well, I guess that agility talks exactly to what I mentioned earlier to say for them, they need to be thinking of sustainability because a lot of funders can change. For example, if we remember what happened during COVID, many philanthropic funders had to react to COVID.
Yeah.
And then, which means they pulled out the funds, the ongoing annual funding that they were giving to some of their social enterprises, and now react to what happened to the pressing need, like COVID at the time. So for social enterprises, they need to make sure that one, they widen their spectrum in terms of having a lot of that they can talk to. Secondly, understand which funders talk to their sectors, because even social enterprises are different in sectors. As I mentioned earlier, some are focusing on ECD centers, which is early childhood. Some are focusing on developing the youth, which talks to different funders. So as social enterprise, they need to understand which funders align with their missions so that at least they can approach the right funders and partner with them for the longevity and sustainability of the impact that they are trying to make.
I like that. It's about partnership, it's about collaboration. And that actually brings us to my next question that I'd like to pose to you, Siphelele, to ask you about what is the importance of, as a social entrepreneur, why must I seek help? Why must I seek mentorship? Why must I get a business consultant? Why must I use organizations that are there to help me in my journey, to not be isolated and think, this is my vision, this is my dream. I can do it on my own, because we know the truth of that is that you can't do it on your own. so,
Definitely.
so if you could just, speak into that.
I think what I have found in the social sector, well, like in fact, in all entrepreneurship, especially at early stages of entrepreneurship and startups, a lot of entrepreneurs, they say entrepreneurship is a lonely journey. So I think just like they are entrepreneurs as well, they
Mm.
need to collaborate with other entrepreneurs
Yeah.
in the social space so that they can learn from each other. At the moment, we have had some collaborations and events that we've established in our portfolio where we promote them partnering with each other. There's a lot of cohesion that is happening amongst themselves, even before we include other funders or potential funders. So that those partnerships are critical for success because you are able to learn from each other. In terms of support, I would like to think that every entrepreneur needs that support. I mean,
Mm.
even very big corporates still employ coaches for their CEOs and executives. So every business leader basically does need that support because you tend to be in the business and not necessarily uh, 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 work on the business. There's a difference,
Yeah.
which so when you have that consultant or support or mentorship, they give that external dynamic to say, what about this? Have you considered that? Things like that. So that also goes to how you structure your board. There needs to be a spread in terms of skills. Those are some of the things that we promote in terms of our social entrepreneurs to say, how is your board in terms of transformation? How is your board in terms of the different skill sets? So that at least the advice that you get when you sit with your board is basically valuable to you as the CEO or the social entrepreneur.
It's very pivotal. Now, Spelela, how have you seen um, the change or the transformation take place in some of the entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs that you've worked with? You know, if you could share some stories of success where you've really seen major growth or major transformation in the social entrepreneur's journey.
I think in our case, in our portfolio, how we operate is a little different. We treat our social entrepreneurs exactly the same way as
Mm.
what a commercial funder would look at. In fact, even our investment committee is the same investment committee that approves our commercial transactions. So the same way, basically, our social entrepreneurs present to that committee. So the first thing I can mention is that after they have gone through the process of applying and going through us assessing their business, us interrogating their business model, interrogating their programs, seeing what could be done, how can we add value to it. As we go out, they always say they feel that they have already received value, whether we have approved their transaction, maybe, or them having to go back to the drawing board, but they feel that getting that support as social entrepreneurs is normally not the case because
Mm.
many philanthropies they just issue grants to them and then let them run on their own. So how we operate at East Squared Investments is a little bit different because we are taking them on a journey with us. We even have post investment, which is what we call value creation, even post us investing in the organization, which is to help them support, as I said, helping them roll out the program that they want to continue running, help them in the organization strategically as to where are they and where do they want to grow, helping them seek co-funders as well so that they can ensure sustainability, helping them building or uplifting their board structure and advisory
Mm.
board. All of those are things that we feel are support structures that we have. So a lot of them have given us feedback to say we are actually leaders as is quite in the social development space in their view because they say many funders don't go that in depth with social enterprises in terms of funding.
Sure, well done to E Squared Investments, you know, for being the leader in social development funding. Now, your message to social entrepreneurs out there, you know, some encouragement to lift them up and also to seek help, you know, that it's okay for them to go out and seek help, seek partnerships, seek mentorship.
Mm. I agree with you. In fact, I'm going to echo what you said. Do seek partnerships
Mm.
because you may not know what you don't know. Some
Mm.
other social entrepreneurs may be exposed to other funders, for example, that you are not exposed to. So
Mm.
those partnerships will be critical. Also, there is so much information on the internet. You can Google some things. There is free courses about how to run your social enterprise, how to run your non-profit organization. There is so much information. So partnering with many people, I think, is critical. And I would like to think as well, social entrepreneurs are in it for the right cause. So if I can maybe
Mm,
say something maybe as a close is that keep going because the impact that you make changes lives. We all know in Africa that you change one person's life and it can feed about five stomachs just by
mm,
changing the life of one person or one youth that maybe can be
mm,
upskilled and end up finding a job.
mm,
So the work that they are doing is quite critical for our country as a
mm,
developing nation. So yeah, I think keep going is what I can say to them. And there are many people that are willing to support. eSquared is not the only funder because we always try and partner with other funders to see if we can't co-fund the social entrepreneurs that we are working with.
Amen. Amen. I love the end there where you spoke about the heart. You know, it's about having the heart. Because you know what, Pelele, some of us, ne? Because we just want the funding. We just think, yay, they are busy funding causes that have to do with climate change. So now,
Mm,
bam, there I go. Me doing something that's related to climate change, but yet I'm not even passionate about climate change. So
exactly.
just because I'm going to get funding. So I think it's really, really what Uspelele is saying is that, you know, find a cause that is close to your heart,
Mm,
and something that is going to impact your community, not because, you know, you want to get funding from, you know, eSquared or whatever other organizations that do give funding, but find a cause that is dear to your heart, and yeah, the rest will take care of itself, really, you know. So
indeed, indeed. Mm.
yeah, so family of Cape of 79 Cape Pulpit, we have been speaking to Siphelele iNdlovu. You can hear this conversation on our Facebook page right now. If perhaps you've just missed it or you've just logged on now and you're listening, so please ensure that you do go back to it and listen because it's very informative. It really tells us about the ins and outs of social entrepreneurship, how to get funding, and so on and so forth, and you know the importance of collaboration and mentorship, and all those other important aspects of social entrepreneurship. So, Siphelele iNdlovu, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you. Thank you for making time, and thank you for such an informative conversation.
Thank you for the invitation and for having me. It's been really